All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the next episode of our podcast. I don't know what number it was, so six. And we have a new addition. This is Mr. Scotty over here. If you guys saw my last,
you guys have probably heard him in the background.
You guys have probably heard him in the background, but now he's got his own mic, so he can help us be organized a little more. He was in my last YouTube video, and I was making fun of him with my emo hair.
Can you be seen?
He had emo hair.
Can I be
on
seen?
a camera?
No, because
He couldn't be seen in the video either. I was just making fun of his hair.
Yeah, I'm just a silent guy in the background.
Okay. So he's here, guys, but you can't see him.
He's somewhere in the room. But he's going to be helping us kind of guide through it like our host, essentially.
Yes.
Even though he's the host squared
Support.
to our host 3. But we're just going to kind of run through some topics today that he has.
I don't know if that was grammatically correct. Or
Well, we're
grammatically.
3.
Period.
We're technically host. Ryu, period.
Okay.
It makes sense. Just trust us. Moving on. We're going to be going through some topics from him and ripping through this podcast. Is there anything you guys want to talk about before we get started?
Nope. I'm supposed to
I'm
not
good.
talk on this podcast. Someone told me I talk too much.
Dom didn't have caffeine though, so might be a better podcast.
I'm starting to watch all the comments, and everybody's like, Dom talks a lot.
Yeah, they don't like me.
Dom's
I
got a
think
lot
you
of
should
information
I
to
think you
share.
should keep talking.
I'm going to keep fucking talking.
Yeah.
This was like, I don't know if I should say this, but when I first started filming YouTube and having Courtney in my videos, people hated her.
Really?
People were so mean to her, and now she's like mom. Because
Why?
She's stuck around, you know?
Why were they mean?
She made it through.
I have a pretty like intense followers sometimes, and they can be mean to certain newcomers. And I don't know why, they just weren't very nice, but then I think they realized like how supportive she was and good for
Yeah.
me and how much we actually love each other. And they're like, okay, she's been around for long enough.
You
She's
can keep her.
Were they mean to
You just
Calvin?
got to stick it out.
I
Uncle
ain't going
Dom.
nowhere. Not going anywhere.
Uncle Dom.
Uncle Dom. Were they mean to Calvin? They accepted
no, they like
Calvin.
Calvin.
Yeah.
But Calvin gives them the content.
That's
so
fair.
They have to like him.
Well, part of that, I guess, one of the things I've read on the comments is like social media. So we're talking about it a little bit. Like, how do you deal with it? I think, Chris, you're a good one to start with since you have the highest following. Dom might have a better engagement, percentage, but
60,000 views.
Hey,
That's funny.
engagement ratio, they're supposed to go down when you go up, all right? It's normal.
so I guess one of the common questions I saw there, one was why do you do what you do on social media, and what does social media mean to you, and how do you deal with negativity and that kind of stuff? So we just kind of just want you to roll with it, see what you think. Why do you use social media? Why did you start using it? How about that?
Oh, damn. I don't know. To be completely honest, I didn't have any like virtuous reasons why I started. I started because it was the thing to do, the way our world was going, and I was keeping up with the times. But as I started to do it, I realized it was really cool to like kind of share my story. And I tried to share a lot of parts of my story. And I think when I started sharing the most on social media was after 2018, when I was in the hospital during prep and I had like a really hard time. I shared that story, and a lot of people connected with that. And I think they kind of, there's this disconnect I feel like a lot of people have from successful people and thinking like they're like not human, and they're just like parents even teach you like, no, those are different. Those are rich, successful people. Like, you stay in your own lane. But when you learn like me, like I have fucking stress and I cry and I have these hard times and shit, and like I'm still succeeding in what I'm doing and I'm normal, I think people can relate to that more, and it inspires them to push themselves to chase those bigger goals that they may not have in the past. So I guess what made me really dive into it was just wanting to share my story more, so people realize I'm just a normal person, and what I'm doing, they can do it too. So if I can inspire them to push themselves into whatever they want their dreams are, then that's awesome.
What made you want to start? Like, why did you start doing? What did you start with first? You started Instagram first, obviously.
I think you
sharing your
started with Grindr first.
Oh,
Grindr wasn't even around.
That's right.
I got into that a little later.
He created Grindr.
your YouTube you started in 2011.
Justin Jacoby.
I started YouTube in 2011.
That's what it says. I joined in March 4th, 2011.
Oh, I think that was like, no, remember when
first
you
made
have
your account?
MacBooks and you could open a photo booth
Yeah.
and do like a stupid video? I think it was just like a joke video when I was like in high school.
You saw
I
the
did
video?
not make a YouTube video in high school.
So when did you start it?
Probably 2016, 2015.
With Instagram?
So it's six. No.
Oh, no, that's
YouTube.
YouTube.
So that's 6
Okay.
years ago.
I mean, I got Instagram in like grade 11 or something, high school. But it wasn't like
18-year-old reps 5-plate deadlift 7 years ago.
7 years ago.
Skydive video 9 years ago.
Skydive video, that's what it.
Dom's going
Yeah.
skydiving with you.
No, I'm not.
Okay, so when you're using social media, as you've gone through many years, like, what have you learned? I mean, you've done it for a long time. You've amassed a huge following. What have you learned in the process?
Nothing.
Fair.
I don't know that. Maybe I've learned that like how to detach from stupid people saying stupid things, because there's so many people who can have the choice to give input on your life, but they have no idea who you are or what you're actually about, because they don't know what you're like behind the scenes or anything. And I've learned there's a lot of fake people in the world, because you can put on any face you want on social media, and that gives that impression that people judge, but they don't actually know the real you, because you're only showing what you choose to share. So it just kind of helped me see through the facade of which is life a lot, whether it was meeting people who I've known on social media who were completely different, or the judgment I got on social media for people who had no idea who I was.
So Dom, you were starting to share a lot more. I mean, did you share, do you like using it? Do you want to start using it more? What's the reason behind you wanting to start sharing more things? Because you've talked to me a little bit about it.
I mean, I think social media can be what you want it to be, right? I think if you look for the negative shit on social media, you're going to find more negative shit. There's a lot of negative people who post like, you know, dumb YouTubes that just bash other people and things like that. Or you can follow the positive people. And I think your personality or your persona is defined by that. If you give yourself enough time to be wrapped into that shit, I think we're all pretty fortunate to where like we don't take social media too seriously. So like we just go on it to give, you know, a glimpse into what we're doing, and we don't use it for any negativity whatsoever. But I mean, I have noticed like, you know, you do get a lot more negative comments of people who really just don't know like anything about you. And it's you have to take it like lightly, you know, like you have to like, a lot of my friends who don't have like a social media following is like, oh, did you see that? Or this guy's a fucking dick or whatever. And it's like, dude, I don't even care. Like Chris trolls half the people that make fun of him on social media, because that's all you can do. You know, you can just like feed into it and make fun of yourself and then move on and enjoy your day, you know? So I think social media is literally exactly what you want it to be. If you want it to be a positive thing, it will. If you don't, you'll fall into a hole.
Yeah. I mean, Matt, you use a lot for, I'm sure in the beginning, business.
Yeah. So actually, I was going to ask Chris a question. Starting out early on, did you ever have anybody give you any insight, or was it all? Because like from my perspective, following you, you've always been extremely calculated, even down to the pictures that you post. Like for me, like even earlier on, I would post like stupid pictures of my food and maybe off-centered photos, but yours has always been like super clean. Was that on purpose from day one? Like, did you have insight into that, or?
I didn't have any teaching, no, but I think I've always had a good, like, I've been able to look at stuff across the board and just feel like I know what I think look good and what I like and what I want to do. And I think the biggest part of it, honestly, is I got lucky that like who I am and what I like to share, other people like. Yeah. It's not like I'm like calculating like, oh my God, this should work, or like this will make people think I'm like, I thought I like this. I think this picture looks cool. I think this video would be fun. I think this would be helpful. And then I just share it as like genuinely as I can. And I think it's just, I've gotten lucky that my genuine nature has connected with a lot of people.
Yeah. So for me, I actually, when I first started Instagram, I thought it was just like a way to filter pictures. I didn't even realize that what it was going to turn into. But then in 2017, in May of 2017, I actually lost my Instagram. So at that point, that was when I was really starting to become more successful as a coach. And I kind of drew out, you know, what I wanted my mission statement to be, on my Instagram. And I kind of had the opportunity. I think it was honestly a blessing. I had like 70,000 followers at the time. But I was able to kind of restart fresh and clean. And with that, I wanted my Instagram to be centered around hard work, effort, the passion that I had within coaching, and then my family. So that's kind of like, if you look at my posts since then, that's what it's always been about. You know, so that for me has kind of been the center point of Instagram. But even since I've been training less, I've had the injuries that I've had, it's really my focus on posting has been a lot less. So I think over time, and honestly too, I think a lot of people measure success based off of what they see on social media. And I've learned the more successful I've gotten, it really, for me, especially, it hasn't had anything to do with social media. So I think people kind of overstress that. You know, I had 2 conversations with 2 athletes yesterday. There's still this kind of old world thought process that, in the bodybuilding spectrum, you know, like people need to be picked up based off of their success on stage. And where we're at now, it honestly needs to be 2 separate things, you know? So there's stage success, and then I think there's social media success. And those 2 aren't all connected together. And really, I always give Chris as an example. I tell people to like look at what he's done, and it really comes down to how you connect with people, and giving them a reason to follow you more so than, you know, not so much likes, but like, are you really engaging, and are you giving people a reason to trust you? And then through that trust, that's really how I think social media success grows for a lot of
Yeah,
people.
but I also think like, I mean, we've just seen it firsthand. Like sometimes like it's kind of crippling too.
Oh no, for sure.
You know,
Sure.
like so it's so easy, and then it could totally ruin someone's long term. You know what I'm saying?
I think what honestly fucks with people the most, and it's connected to why I got like almost lucky in the sense that I was successful with it, that people who want to become successful on social media, which by the way, I never had any
They
intention.
usually don't.
I didn't want to be Mr.
That's not
Olympia
their
when I
driving
started.
force.
I didn't want to be famous. I don't even like attention. But the people who are like chase that, they think they need to be something different. So they like act like someone they're not, and it creates a disconnect from themselves, which then creates a disconnect from their people. And then there's like not that genuine connection you have because you don't even know who you are because you're not being yourself.
Yeah.
And the people are not idiots. They can sense that when you're just being an asshole. And then we know some people, you start to lose yourself.
Yeah.
You get overwhelmed in life. You get anxious. Like whenever you're not acting like yourself, whether on social media or real life, it builds anxiety in yourself.
Sure.
You start to get stressed out. You think you have to put on this act, and it's just it crumbles your whole life. And people put all of that into social media, and that's when everyone's living on their phone, trying to like get their success through that, and they're not getting it because it's this fake like disconnect that they're not being able to build.
Yeah.
I think that comes down to, like I always say, is how my parents raised me to just be myself, and
Yeah.
if people respect you for who you are, that's all you can ever ask for. But if they respect you for someone you're not, then they don't really respect you.
I've seen it too, like you said, like where people, they create this image on social media and then they crumble when they're actually around people because it's completely different than what they really are.
It's artificial.
So they don't know how to act.
I mean, it goes both ways too, because you have the physical aspect of that too. Like so many people edit their fucking photos now on Instagram that like you see them in real life and you're just like,
Who is this?
you walk right by them.
Yeah.
You know?
Shoot women.
I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna say who this is. I don't want to put him on blast, but I got a file from a old friend of mine who wanted me to help them with something, and the file said Facetune on the file, so they edited it themselves before sending it to me.
Wow. Asking you to edit it.
Asking
Well,
me
like
to change
Sammy
it for them.
edits like no, she doesn't like edit her waist and shit, but like she'll go on Facetune and like edit like her face sometimes, and like I don't know if she has like a pimple, she'll like get rid of her pimple
Sure,
and
get
stuff
rid of
like
a
that.
blemish and stuff like that.
But
I
like
get that.
some of these girls, like I remember vividly,
Push
like
them.
one time we had an athlete and they came down for a photo shoot, and I was just like,
Who are you?
what the fuck is this? You know, and don't get me wrong, it is what it is, but like I just think it's so easy to be perfect on social media now that like I think people really want more, and you see it. Like you see like the normal people, I don't want to say normal, but like just the people who aren't fucking with their photos and they're getting more engagement because it's like at least they're real.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
I stopped getting rid of blemishes.
yeah.
I mean, I knew two people from back home who were like kind of trying to get into social media. They're dudes, and they had body acne. One of them softened the shit out of their stuff, and it looked so bad and fake.
Yeah.
And the other like posted it and was like hid it for a while, and then posted and was like talking about how like insecure they were about
Yeah.
like their skin and shit. And how
Blew
many
up.
teenagers connect with that?
Everybody, bro.
Yeah.
And he was just like being honest and being like, I'm insecure about this. I know some people are gonna be like, oh, you took too much drugs or steroids, your skin's bad. But like he's like, it happens
It's
to
what it
people who
is.
don't as
Yeah.
well. Like it sucks, and I'm insecure about it, but like it's how I look.
Yep.
And people connected with that, and it might be scary at first, but like that's an example of being your honest self builds a much stronger connection
Yeah.
with people that are then gonna want to follow and respect you.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand where like the disconnect is, and sometimes in their aspect, because it's like we talked about earlier, there's so many negative people. You post some shit like that, and then it just gets blown out of proportion. You know, like, oh, this is because of drugs, and it's reposted. And granted, you have to probably have a decent following for that, but just be real.
Matt, did you start when you started using social media for the coaching aspect and the bodybuilding, did you use that as a lead source for your business, or did you kind of already have like with your friendships and your relationships in your gym? Is that kind of how it started?
I think, I mean, obviously there's a cause and effect there, you know, but like and honestly, I think something else too is the more successful I've gotten, the less wordy I've been with my posts. Cause I just want like my body of work to speak, and I don't want to ever look like I'm a salesman, cause I hate that. You know, but I would say at one point I was using social media to help my coaching, to help drive my coaching. But now like I'm just posting my guys cause I'm proud of them and proud of what they've done. And it's not like I could care less about gaining more clients or, you know, publicity from that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, and I see social media as two aspects, that aspect, as well as Chris's aspect, where you make it off of things like YouTube. You know, you make the AdSense or any of that kind of stuff off of YouTube, which allows you to make a business out of it, but in a different way. So when did you start to see that money coming in, and you kind of, did you take a turn and say, I'm going to start doing this as like a additional source of income?
Not really, no. I think the biggest thing that made me start wanting to do YouTube more was when I first had Calvin come and do a full prep series with me. And then after that year, everyone who came up to me was like, oh my God, I watch your YouTube. Oh my God, your prep series like inspired me so much. Like I watch it every day during cardio. Like everyone only talked about my YouTube. And I was like, this is what made people like, there's way more information that comes out of a person on that because it's a 20-minute video as opposed to a post. So I felt like just like having that like connect and people saying like how they drew inspiration from it or like, and now a lot of it's just because like I am where I am in like the realm of classic physique. People are like, you're the reason I started competing. And I'm like, fuck, that's so cool. Like I want to share like my journey and have people excited to try and chase something similar. And that was always how it was for me. And I feel like as soon as I got into YouTube, that's when they did those cuts, those pay cuts that everyone talks about. So I didn't even get paid for the first like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years I did. I made like $500, $800 a month from it. And that was it. So I was just like, I never really thought about the money coming from it.
Because of who you guys are, do you feel like each one of you have a different success levels? Do you feel the pressure to share and post on social media?
I don't feel pressure. No, I honestly don't.
I don't usually post my shit on like stuff like that. Like at the end of the year, I'll do like a recap of some of the things I did, but I think it just like, you just work.
You're starting to share more though,
A
like
little
for
bit,
yourself.
yeah.
I think more so than anything.
Yeah, no,
It's like
I-
almost like
definitely.
memories.
But I think for Dom, I think it's because, you know, I've encouraged him in this. Other people have encouraged him in this. Like he has a lot to share that'll help and benefit people. You know, so I think for him, it actually took like realizing that like people care about his story, you know, and how successful he is and the rate of which he's done it. And honestly, it goes from, you know, from how he cares about people. You know, so I think that, and then also going back to what Chris said about, I think what helped my social media the most, again, was from a connection standpoint where people just love to watch me train. You know, that's probably when I had the most quote unquote social media success. And even today, you know, even at the Olympia this year, like people are like, man, we missed your training videos, which obviously I can't do right now. But that was how they connected with me, or that's what they liked about me. You know, I talked about it on the last podcast, but I want to start to have a shift in my own social media where it's more about kind of not a photo album of my family, but the things that matter most to me now. But that's going to require probably losing some following and gaining new following as it's a new interest. Cause you know, I don't have that constant training, daily training to drive, you know, why people want to follow me anymore.
Do you feel pressure, Chris?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Really?
Honestly, not really. And that's why I think I don't like get stressed out about it. Is like I share what I want to share and I don't what I don't want to. But I'm also like okay with being open. And I think this goes kind of similar to like when you talked about the hate on social media. I think a lot of reason people feel like stress or pressure, they're afraid of the hate they're gonna get. But like I like work on being extremely self-aware, and I think it's made me like successful. And within that, I'm probably more hypercritical of myself. So I'm my own worst critic. So no one's gonna say anything I don't already know. And if they tell me something that I'm like, fuck, like that's true, then it's true. So why am I gonna get mad at them?
Does the negativity ever get to you? And how do you deal with that?
The only time negativity ever gets to me, honestly, is about my health a little bit. But it's not like it's getting to me. It's like I have stress and anxiety around my health. And it usually comes up during prep with like the past up my autoimmune issues and stuff. And people are like, oh, you're killing yourself doing this. And I'm like, fuck. And but that's my own fear.
Yeah.
And with that, I sit with that and I'm like, that's not that comment that's making me feel like that. That's because I have that fear inside me. I have that anxiety in me. Whether or not I was on social media or I was competing, when I lead up to the Olympias, that anxiety just fucking skyrockets in me and I start to feel like that. So that's usually my like thing. And honestly, I use it as a good tool for me to realize what is inside me that I haven't dealt with or that I'm not at peace with. Life is just about accepting everything as it comes. And if something makes you feel anxious or stressed about it, it's because you haven't accepted it fully. And that's something I've accepted much more in the past few years, but I'm still not fully there. And it does still cause anxiety in me. But it's not something I don't already know myself.
It's also just being responsible. I mean,
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
You know, any bodybuilder that doesn't have a healthy fear for what they're doing is being irresponsible.
Matt, I know all of you probably have everybody receives some kind of negative comment. right, of something. And you know, same question for you. How do you handle it? I mean, you're a different part of your life, different social responsibility, I guess. I mean, I'm assuming people think Chris feels like he has one because of his stature in social media as a whole. Obviously he doesn't, but how do you handle that kind of stuff coming up now, different, that kind of thing?
So my approach, as much as I can, has always been to not address things because there's no validity to them. But what does bother me is when Jordan finds out, and it bothers her because then it's more so seeping into our family life, you know, and kind of sometimes when things hit or when stories break or whatever, it's like we're in the middle of doing something as a family. And then my phone starts to blow up, and then she's like, you know, what's going on? Because she can see that I'm acting a little different. And that's what bothers me is not so much like what's said, but when she gets upset or visibly upset about something that's said about me is when I really start to have more of an issue with it. But I've had a lot of positive comments from people that I really respect about my kind of just always trying to take the high road, and not kind of roll around in the mud with these guys that say things and just continue to do what I do. And, you know, the thing about me that I'm proud of is the people that have been associated with me, they never entertain the comments or agree with the comments about the negativity that's said about me. And I think that really, you know, if the people that truly know you stick up for you and have your back, that really is all that matters.
I've always found that interesting with you on social media, and like, to no offense, but like, we all know Matt, and you're one of the nicest, genuine guys, like full dad mode. And I feel like you get a lot of hate on social media. I was talking about this with someone else the other day. I was like, I don't understand why it comes like that. But sometimes it's success, sometimes it's just unlucky to be.
I think part of
having
it
a fucking
is
target from people.
my age in the field that I'm in. I mean, I think that's a large part of it.
You think you're old?
Too young?
Too young.
young.
Way too
He's like
young.
one of the youngest
compared to other
there is.
coaches. Yeah.
I have a really funny story about this. So like this actually just happened to me, and I haven't even told any of you guys about this. So when I first started, you were probably there. You'll remember this. So at the grand opening of the gym, do you remember the grand opening of the gym?
Like,
Do you remember the kid who was showing you how to do walking lunges?
oh yeah.
Okay. So remember he was like really wanting to become an athlete.
I just remember that happening,
Yeah,
but I
so
don't remember who he was.
was like really trying to become an athlete. He was really he was like, you know, always like, oh, I trained Dwayne Wade's kids. I did this, I did that. You remember him?
Yeah.
And I was like, listen, man, like, you know, I don't think like we're looking for any athletes right now. It was like a very polite, like, no, you know, like we're not interested kind of thing. And this is where I think saying no to some people, it makes them hate you. Because they feel like you're doing it to be like some type of an asshole, but in reality, you're just the nicest way possible trying to tell them like, no,
Yeah.
you know? And so that happened. And then later on down the road, I opened my Boca clinic and he wanted a job there. And again, I was just like, listen, man, you know, his whole thing is I own this gym. I have the nicest private client, but like, you know, always trying to like hype himself up. And I said it again. I said, listen, man, if you want to refer people over, I have no problem with that. And we'll work something out. If it goes well, you know, we'll talk about possibly giving you a position. But he like wanted to be paid like right away, you know? And again, it just ended up being like a no. And then come to find out, this kid actually went to high school with my wife, or college with my wife at UCF. And like he screwed her over somehow, where like he hired her as a coach to be like a coach for his like whatever it was at the time. And like basically just told her to like fuck off afterwards. And like after she did all this work. So it just kept being no, no, no. And then finally he went into my office and he got an IV, and then he had his mom call me and threatened to sue me because she said that he couldn't move his arm for a month and that he was in so much pain. He went to the emergency room, all this shit happened. And the whole time, like his mom's on the phone with me. First of all, I'm like, if you're a grown ass man, you know, like you should be the one reaching out to me if there's a problem. And I was going to pay all the bills. Like I was like, all right, fuck it. You know, if I did this, it is what it is. And then I had one friend of mine that trained with him that I knew that trained with him. His my boy Zoe. So I called him and he goes, bro, what are you talking about? He's been training me the whole time. He hasn't taken a day off work. And I was like, what? And he was like, he just told me this whole story about how he couldn't move his arm for a month and he was out of work and he had to close his gym down. And he's like, dude, I've been at his gym every day for the past month. So I confronted him about it. That's when he decided not to obviously pursue anything. And obviously I paid like his copay because he did go to the emergency room twice or whatever. And then 2 days ago, he sends me, or not 2 days ago, it's probably like 2 weeks ago. I didn't have his phone number saved, so I didn't know who it was. So he sends me this message, and it's along the lines of like, I've never had a conversation about you that was positive with anybody. I'm praying for you. I don't know how you sleep at night or something like that. And I was like reading it, and I was just like what the fuck? Like, first of all, like, who is this? So I'm like going back through my text messages, and I'm like seeing like all the bills and shit, and I'm like, oh, this fucking kid. And then I just realized, I was like, it's so, I feel bad for him. Like, he said he went out of his way for the last however many years I've been living in this kid's head rent free, obviously. And then he goes out of his way to send me a text message at like late at night telling me that he like, and I'm just like, and this is when like the Christmas party happened. So obviously everyone was like telling me like, thank you so much for like all the different employees and everything. And I'm looking at all you guys and I'm like just so proud of everything. And like, I just looked at the text and I was like, this is the exact reason. Like, that's hate. Like, there's no other way to chop that up. And I'm the first person to like tell everyone like, you don't have fucking haters, like shut up. But like, that's the first time I've actually like looked at my phone and been like, oh my God. Like, there's nothing I could do for him except say, I'll sponsor you, I'll give you a job, I'll pay you whatever you want. And that would be the only way to feed his ego. But because I didn't feed the ego and I didn't do exactly what he wanted, and maybe it was the first time he's heard the word no, this is what happened. And to me, like, that makes me feel bad for him.
It's almost as if there's a sense of entitlement. And
Well, yeah, but it's just like, if you told me no, and first of all, like, bring value. Like, if you're going to do something, just bring value. I've given him multiple opportunities to bring value, but he couldn't bring the value, and that's why he didn't get what he wanted.
Yep.
So how can you sit there and be mad at me?
Yeah.
What do you want?
Another, she's back.
Oh, shit.
She wants to be on camera.
There we go. Oh.
It seems like the most hate piece is always that they go out of their way, they take their time, and we know somebody that we always hear about now that takes a lot of time and research to research everybody and talk negatively about them. That's all they have positive about themselves.
And listen, if that's the way you want to make your money and do your thing, by all means, right? Like, if that's how you feel you need to be, but like, everyone who watches him is clearly understanding that that's the majority of why he does what he does.
Like, wow, you hate your life, so you need to like
Yeah.
down the rest of people who don't hate their life.
Yeah. And I mean, and honestly, if you're going to fucking talk, at least just be right. Like, you know,
Don't make
like,
shit up.
come on. Like, if you're going to talk shit about something or somebody or some business or whatever, like, read it and like be right about it. Because if you're not going to do that, then you're not even doing your job of being negative properly.
It's true.
So like, it's just, it is what it is. I mean, I think we all can agree that social media really, like, we don't give a shit about it. It doesn't affect us in any way. All we do and all we've ever done since we've been in this industry, or really in any industry, and I'll vouch for every one of us, is we stayed in our own lane. You know, we don't really, I mean, out of anyone in here, I have to give it to you. Like, you have fucking blinders on. When it comes to negativity, it's just like, when you just keep proving people wrong, and eventually what the fuck can they say?
Yeah.
You know, it's like 2 years from now, the stuff that everything that was said is like, nope, that's not true now. Nope, that's not true now. And like, that's the best way to get back at people, right? Like, you don't listen to it, and you don't even use it as fuel because you don't give a shit about what they're saying. You just focus on what you're here for, why you came, and what you're doing to get better.
Yeah.
And that's all you can do. You can never, ever, ever make everybody happy, bro. You don't sell ice cream. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is.
Blinders is a good way to put it. Matt, do you ever have any, like, I'm curious, do your clients ever bring up issues with that sometimes? Do they get stressed with social media themselves?
As far as my negativity,
No, when you're helping your clients go through stressful times or whatever it may be, do they ever reference social media as a challenge for them?
there's been definite times where, I think one of the greatest assets that I have to guys that are good is trying to tap into things that will help them outside of the X's and O's of their diet or their training. And one of the things that, like, I talk about it all the time, but like LeBron James, every playoff run that he's been on, he goes on what he calls 0 Dark 30, where he doesn't get on social media. He doesn't watch ESPN. And there's a reason for that, because he doesn't want to be clouded by what other people are saying about him when it matters most. And that's what I try to do with these guys is, I see them on social media or I see them reading comments, especially one of the things, and this is kind of programmed into my post prejudging conversation with them, as I really, really encourage my guys to stay off social media, whether they're winning the show or whether they're losing the show. The comments said about them within that 6-hour span between prejudging and finals isn't going to make a difference, but potentially deter them from their look at finals. So I do try to encourage them with that, because I mean, it can be a drug for all of us in terms of, just seeing like, what are people saying about me? What are people saying that aren't at the show, which really doesn't matter. So I do try to help, because I think, like I said, I think my greatest asset at times is just more so being a support and a confidence booster, more so than, because a lot of the guys at the top, like, I mean, Chris could be winning Olympias with no help, because they have that within them. But it's really so those other things to help them get that much better. I think that's what really helps. And just to kind of, I didn't help Chris win the Olympia. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that because that's what's
Yeah, for sure.
twisted. Yeah.
Chris Bumstead leaves Ian, goes to prep with Matt. This is going to be the next YouTube.
So anyway,
But I think honestly, in this sense, like, I think if you had to pick two things, right? Like, I think everyone could probably be better off, and I mean this in like the most sincere sense, without social media.
no, for sure.
I like one of my buddies, a good friend of mine, Hayden Schneider. He posted a little bit ago that he's done with it.
And to me, that's like the
That's the mic
ultimate
drop.
goal of freedom
Yeah.
for me, is the day that I don't ever have to check into social media again. And honestly, that day could be today, but I do feel like from a company perspective that we have a responsibility in some instance. We can't, it's hard to build a culture outside of Stewart if we're not being visible.
Yep.
So I think that we do have a responsibility there, but like that to me, like,
And they did that. I mean, Hayden and
for
Katie
sure,
have done
yeah, I
that.
mean,
They're-
he's attained that.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, Hayden and Katie are the owners of Alani Nutrition, and they've built what anyone would probably consider like a dream company from social media, which is they were probably one of the first people to do it right, and do it right.
They're one.
They pioneered they pioneered this shit. So if you guys don't know them and you don't know their brand, which I'm sure you all do who are watching this, but a lot of people don't even know them anymore. It's kind of crazy because I'll talk about them
Yeah.
and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know that they owned it. Like I thought it was like Whitney Simmons or something."
You don't see Katie a lot.
Which is great,
Anymore. Yeah.
but they worked their ass off to get to that point. And, they both carried the brand for so long on their own backs until they were able to find the same people who had the same passions as they do. And they really just, I can't give them enough credit. I told Hayden the other day, I talked to him the other day and I said, bro, I want to do like something because I really just appreciate all of the insight you gave me when I first came out, because they were like the brand I looked up to. And I was like, if I ever do something in the space, like this is kind of the culture that I want to have behind our brand. And it's so impressive to me that he, just this year, I know he went through a lot, or last year, but he just, he figured out what was important in his life. And he just said like, he literally did the math to the second of how much time he was wasting on social media. And he just said, fuck this, I'm out. And like, he's been out since. I text him every now and then to check up on him, make sure he's good. But I'm sure he's doing much, much better. And I get it. Like, I totally see how, everyone could be better without it, because all of us are spending a lot of time doing shit that means nothing to anyone around us.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of like he said in his post, like at the end of the day, you're not going to give a shit about any of that. You're going to care about spending time with the people you love, your kids, your wife, your family. And I think there's not one thing I could say that I don't agree with his posts.
It's almost like, who are you trying to impress? A bunch of strangers or the people sitting at your table?
Yeah.
When Hayden was on social media, like I watched his social media because that now is the goal for me. He basically, his whole social media was about playing with his boys. And even Dallas asked me this morning, he's like, why do you have to go to work? And I said, well, I'm going to work so that way one day I can stay home with you. Like that is the goal.
Yeah.
I have chills talking about it, but like, at one point I wanted to be the best coach in the world. That was a driving force for me. Obviously, like whether or not people think that I'm there or I'm working there, like that still is a driving factor. But more so than that now, like I want to be a dad that's able to pick my boys up from school, take them to ball practice, not have to be on my phone. Like that's the goal. That's where I want to be.
What do you think about, it's probably hard to think about it now, but what do you think about social media and your kids in the future? That's a loaded question. But
Yeah,
I'm sure
well,
it's a thought.
I did think about that, because I think if we all went back to middle school, and it not being a part of our lives at all, like think about the freedom that we have.
I truly think about this all the time, and I wish like something happens. I pray something happens to where like kids could enjoy lives that we lived when we were younger, because it's so much better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, you know, I remember like I would like have a house phone on my waist, like our cordless house phone, and I would be outside and my mom would call me to come inside, you know, or like you stay outside until the lights come on in the mailboxes, like playing manhunt, you know, rounding up all your friends in the neighborhood, creating those like comfortable social skills. And it's just so sad because like I see it in kids 18, 19 years old today. I hire them all the time to work here, and some of them work for us, some of them are our athletes. They just have absolutely no sense of like respect, no sense of culture, no sense of responsibility. And it's all because all they do is do everything on their phone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, even when I go into the warehouse, sometimes I'm in there and I walk in and every single person is working is on their phone. And I'm just like, you guys can live a few hours without checking your phones.
This might be a whole other topic, but do you think the problem is the phones? And I've always had this struggle of being like, oh, like people be better off social media. Do you think the problem is the phones in that, or it's how you interact with it and how you as a parent teach your kids to
I think
interact
it goes
with
to the parents 100%.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Like,
that's one of the things that we've taken a hard stance on is, you know, we've never pulled out, and this isn't to pat our own backs, but like Jordan and I, we'd never want to pull out an iPhone or an iPad or anything during dinner. That's one of the things that I see when we're out to eat, and it just drives me crazy, you know, because
I've never
for
seen your
one,
kids with
I've never
Yeah,
seen them either.
you're
electronic.
Yeah.
you're not connecting with your own family. You know, it's immediately, it's like go to a table and you have your babysitter, you know, so that way we can talk. And yeah, it's times it's hard because like Jordan and I would love to have adult conversation, but we're not going to sacrifice something that we didn't grow up with to provide that luxury for us right now, because it's not the time. Like we chose to have the kids. We need to be there and engage with them.
And you're destroying their
but-
future.
Right, exactly. And then I want to give you credit because I think one of the reasons why you're asking this question is because you're so good at it. But I've never seen somebody with even close. You're the most successful person I've been around on social media, but like your ability to disconnect with your phone is incredible.
Yeah, you're the only person I've ever met who, even
the
in
amount
our
of, like,
in our influencer pool of
responsibility.
people, isn't on their phone 24/7.
I try not to.
I mean, I've messaged our athlete, like, you know, if say our athlete posts on social media or something, and if I go on my Instagram, I'll post like I'll like it. 99% of the time before I exit that message, it's seen and responded to.
Yeah.
So it's like
Got a little green circle
holy
on their phone.
shit.
Yeah.
Like they're like, and it's very consistently like that. So for me, it's like they are literally just on their phones all day long. And granted, maybe that's their job if that's how they make their money, but I think there has to be a sense of disconnect. And I think your sense of realness comes with that, right? So I think that's why you're as successful as you are. I know it sounds crazy because you do the opposite of what you think needs to be done.
For sure, yeah.
But in a way, I think that's truly what made you who you are. And out of any influencer, I know if you lost your Instagram today, you wouldn't be losing your mind
You'd be
about
okay.
it. You would be totally fine. You'd be like, we'll figure it out. Fuck it, no big deal. Half these kids would literally pay hundreds of thousands of dollars, take out fucking loans to hire people to figure out how to get their Instagrams right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I definitely have had moments too where I have been too enveloped in my phone. And then I think I told you this about my prep this year. In the last 2 weeks, my screen time went down to like
2 hours or something.
No, like
No,
an
it was
hour
less.
and
Yeah,
35
You
minutes a
told me
day
that,
or
yeah.
something, which I was like, holy fuck. Like
Yeah.
it was like screen time has dropped 10% every week. And it's just gone down. And I realized I had also just like
Come to peace.
come to peace a lot more. I'll also talk to you guys about, I've muted everyone I compete against on social media. And I forgot about it for a year. And I was like, oh, fuck. Do I even follow these people anymore? And I'm not like, sorry, Brian. I'm like, then you're posting 2 years.
Yeah.
But like, I just like don't even want to see that shit because
Sure.
it doesn't change what I need to do.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's kind of a competitive aspect, like you said, with LeBron.
Yeah.
But it's also like how I felt with that in the competitive aspect. I've then felt like the connect and me trying to be a real life, enjoy the time with real people. Where like when we go to dinner, I'm like, okay, like phone
You're
doesn't
there.
could stay in the car. Like sometimes you want to pull up a funny picture or something, but like it's like I don't want to be like you don't want your kids sitting on your phone. I don't want to be doing that right now, and it's just
I also think it depends on the
Disconnecting from
person.
it.
Like when you guys are talking about like the athleticism or like the drive of like being the best and like, you know, not having to see your competitors. Some people will argue and say, oh, well, you know,
thrive
it
off of it.
it helps me, you know, see how they're doing or working to push me harder. But if you're truly in the right state of mind and you truly have the right people around you, that's not going to help you because you're already doing that. You're already going 100%. You're already doing everything you possibly can. And if you're in your heart of hearts, you know you're doing that. And this goes with, you know, fitness, business, anything. Like nothing you see of anyone else doing is going to help you get better because you're already there.
yeah. I can attest to that because 3 years ago when I first started seeing Courtney, she was telling me to get off my phone, and this was when I was on my phone more and like looking at people and seeing it, and I was like, babe, like it's making me motivated to be better than them. And I felt like that, and I still won that year, but that was also like the year I hated the most. And like a lot of other stuff was going on, but it was the year I was less present and least enjoyed it. And then when I moved forward and I started detaching from that and not trying to beat people, but trying to be the best version of myself, and just knowing that like I don't even need to worry about what they're doing because I know I'm doing what I'm doing, that like furthered my success, my mentality, everything way more than trying to be better than one other person.
Yeah.
You feel as if it's almost a decision to go, I'm going to look at all these people, and you might say is driving you and motivating you. You might see this the most with clients, but really it's an internal way of them judging so they can make themselves feel better about themselves. Or them judging that individual because they're alone looking at that typically.
Probably, yeah. And also like a little bit of an admittance of fear and insecurity that you're worried that they're going to beat you.
Mm.
When if you truly believe you are the best and you're working to be the best, and no one's going to beat you. But like if you have to literally see it and worry about it, like when I got off stage at the Olympia, I didn't even know who was top 5. I didn't realize who I was standing beside. Like I was just like fucking like there. And the most I've ever enjoyed and have fun at Olympia. And I think my stage presence was the best it's ever been. So
I think it's fun. I mean, your blinder point. It's
Yeah.
funny. I laugh at it because most people would be like, what do you mean? You don't know who this?
Dude, if you don't,
Awesome.
if you truly look at any successful person in the whole entire world, like there's a really badass photo of Michael Phelps. Like, remember that? You know what I'm talking about? The photo of like the guy in second place looking
Yes.
at him,
Yes.
and then he's looking straight ahead.
Yes.
Because like if you're truly successful, you really don't care what anyone else is doing, and you never hate on what anyone else is doing because you're happy for them. And I mean this, and it's in like I have so many friends who own supplement companies, and I'm happy for every single one of those people. And like in my heart of hearts, want them to do as good, better, as best as they can be in any situation, because it doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect what I'm going to do every day, no matter what.
You're focused on yourself.
I'm not focused on what they're doing. I'm not focused on what he's doing. I'm focused on what we can do to be better tomorrow. And that's all I look at. I don't look at anything else. And I think that's the biggest fucking problem with everyone. It's like you go on social media, you look and you're comparing your first week in business to someone's 5th year in business. And of course you're going to get fucking discouraged. Like it's inevitable. Like a kid who just picked up a weight today comparing himself to Chris. Like, yeah, you don't look like Chris and you probably never will, but fuck, like you can't compare them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not possible to do that. It's not good for your mental health. It's not good for your physical health. It's just not good for you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can figure out a way to just understand that and just focus on your fucking own stuff and only your own stuff. People always ask me, how did you grow your businesses so quick? I didn't care about anything else besides that. I didn't model it against something else. I learned from people who I believed in and who I thought did things right, but I was never the one to walk into a room and be like, I can do this better than everybody here. Mm-hmm. I just learned what I could. I put it to use. I took everything that I thought everyone did great, put it together, and I just did my own thing. And I think that can attest to any successful person will say the exact same thing.
That's what, I said in the last one, I said about, that's why, not out of arrogance, but that's why I don't listen to other podcasts in the bodybuilding culture, because I don't want to be influenced. Consciously, I don't want to be influenced by that. I know what I need to do. I know what I need to get better at. I know where my communication skills need to improve, but I don't want to start infiltrating somebody else's thought process that I don't really understand into my decision-making process.
someone else that you don't even care about either.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's easy to do. It's easy to watch something or listen to something, and then
slowly start to think.
And
that
you
way.
in your own head at the time are like, "This is so fucking stupid." Like this has nothing to do with what I'm doing. And then like that night you're going to sleep and you're like, "Fuck, like
maybe I should."
Maybe that's right. And
Right.
maybe and it's like that's the point. That's what they're trying to do. And it's just you gotta just fucking just do your own thing. There's a reason why Matt's super successful. There's a reason why I've gotten to where I am, and there's a reason why Chris is Mr. Olympia. And I think we can all attest that like each of us does what we do very well.
I think one of the biggest proof of this isn't that you become successful, because I think people can get lucky and be successful, but to stay successful
Yep.
is the hardest thing to ever do in the world.
Yes.
Like how many people do you see who have won one title or won one show or got the pro card or made it to the Olympia once or done something one time because they got lucky and they got there, and as soon as they got there, the keeping it is what comes down to all this shit, is focusing on yourself and finding that drive. Because doing things consistently time after time is a hell of a lot harder than doing it once.
It's same thing in business. I'll tell you that,
Everything.
right? It's the exact same thing. You start a business, you could be super lucky with it, but hitting a home run twice, 3 times, 4 times, that's when you know what the fuck you're doing. And that's why I've never felt like I was able to like speak on business, because when I first started like my clinics, I was like, maybe I got lucky. Like, maybe I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And then, we started the supplement companies, and then we did very well with those. And now I have the roofing and all these other companies. And it's like, all I did was applied the same exact morals, ethics, and everything I have into all of those companies and led the same way I do. And obviously partnered with the right people, but it's led me to where I am. And I feel comfortable now, like not, telling people everything to do with their money, but at least being able to speak comfortably on the topic that like I've done this and I've weathered multiple storms with it.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great place to stop and hit home.
Wrap it up.
I think so. You guys have said a lot of really cool things, and I think a lot of people are going to learn a lot from this. And a lot of what you take away is focusing on yourself, and maybe check your screen time once in a while. But I think that was really good. I mean,
My screen time is through the roof right now.
I bet it is. At least your NFT, your NFT realm.
NFT time.
sea.
So,
It's 90% open sea.
for those who are interested in NFTs, I want Dom to tell us kind of what he's looking at right now,
Oh man.
just to end it all.
Okay, so
Wrap up.
on the first on the first podcast, I said I was going to make 50 grand.
Yep.
I smoked that goal.
Yep.
I made way more than that since what was that, a week ago? A week and a half ago we
A
filmed
week
that one?
about, yeah.
It was a week ago.
Yeah.
So I've smoked 50. I'm up over like 100 right now. And then I just got into a new project called the Fancy Bear Project, right? Fancy Bear Metaverse.
Mm-hmm.
I minted 8 of them, and then I bought like 34 more of them. So I think they're going to go up. I really do believe in the project. So we'll see. So you guys know that's what I did. That's my move. This is going to be seen in probably like 2 weeks though. So you're probably going to be too late to jump in on it. That sucks for you guys. I apologize for that. But yeah, actually I posted on my Instagram. So if you saw my Instagram, I already did it.
Just follow Dom there. You'll see all of it there.
Yeah. So
Always.
I've been posting like all my plays on Instagram. I'm up like $30,000 on Alien Friends. I'm up, I think, about $50,000 to $60,000 on Mutant Apes. And then I have all these little bears. So we'll see.
Matt, you getting in?
He's gonna get in. He needs to get a mutant.
No, we got to get Matt into the sports ones.
There you go.
You get behind that.
Yeah, you could do that. They sell like I don't get the sport ones though.
Tom Brady's blue.
I get it, but
I
it-
want like a mutant ape with like a Derek Jeter jersey on or something. I'll go for that one.
You can get like
Those of you that create these things.
you can get like
Just gave me a
jerseys on
great
other
idea.
ones. I don't think the apes have jerseys.
Well, it needs to because those are the valuable ones.
For sure. You can also like edit your ape. Like I don't know if you saw, but like Nelk Boys just bought one, or Happy Dad bought one. Was it Nelk or Happy Dad? Happy Dad bought one, and then they like painted it on their building, and they put like a Happy Dad drink in its hand, but it's
That
like
was
the
just a
same.
painting.
I know, but it looks cool. Like it's still his ape drinking a Happy Dad. We could always make you custom art of your bear
Good.
and like a Lakers jersey,
Yeah.
or your mutant ape.
I think this could be another podcast for another time, but I feel like, and I think Don would agree with me here, I think there's like levels to investing, and obviously this is a good opportunity, but I'm still trying to I'm very good at trying to master one thing. So I started investing in stocks in April of 2020.
Yep.
So I still don't feel like I've completely mastered that, and I want to do well there. And not that I couldn't do well here, but also there's only so much time in a day.
Sure.
And that to me is important. So that's kind of where my stance on this is. Like, obviously, like I give these guys a hard time, like, oh, here we go again, and I think it's a great opportunity, but I'm also like, I really want to get good at what I'm doing. And, another thing that was important to me was setting up the boys' college funds, which that's, I can be putting a lot at 529 account is what that's called. I've been putting money there. So I'm just trying to like prioritize and working with the financial advisor that Dom has set me up with. They've given me these steps, like these financial steps that I'm trying to knock out before I jump to bigger.
Yeah, and don't get it
plans.
twisted. This is like fucking gambling. Like this isn't like this is the most
High risk.
This is like the riskiest thing you could do. I mean, you could lose it all tomorrow. So
Volatility 11 out of 10.
12 out of 10. Yeah, it's bad. So like don't go into this and be like, I have my life savings and I'm going to put it into NFTs, because I'm not saying you'll lose. You could hit a home run, but there's a very good chance it could go both ways. So like, again, put money in there that you're comfortable, like not necessarily losing all of it, but not making a lot for a while, or just, maybe possibly losing a little bit of it.
For context, I'm in $700.
You made 700?
No, I'm like
He's
invested
invested $700.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
if you
okay.
got just be smart about it, if you
It's a learning thing for me at this point.
yeah, and that's
And then you get
honestly I'm a degenerate, so like I did buy a lot of it, but like I'm learning as I'm going, and I'm
Yep.
trying to kind of master the whole art of it, because maybe we'll do an NFT one day. I don't know, but this is how I learn. I learn by like putting myself into something and just figuring it out.
Cool.
Okay, episode 6.
That's it.
Wrap it up.
See you guys.
See you guys later.
Later.